Life has a strange way of fulfilling human desire. Some of us have desires that require hard work and dedication for it to come true. Some take time, from months to years. Some take luck, or, if you believe in it, divine intervention to be fulfilled. Most of us have desires that we might never fully fulfill in our lifetime. We like to say that superficial desires like fame and glory shouldn't be put on a pedestal. And while this is true in some ways, most people secretly desire fame and glory. Each person has a different reason for desiring it, from vanity, greed, or to have a chance at pulling themselves and their family out of poverty. And we all have to be honest. Being at the top provides you many opportunities and privileges that you wouldn't have otherwise. In today's society, it makes it increasingly unfortunate that the only way to live a decent and comfortable life is to reach for the stars. Some have a desire, maybe not to be famous, but to simply be known, to be remembered, to be truly seen for who they are. Millions of people stand shoulder to shoulder, phones raised up to their faces, watching people who have it better in life just for a few minutes of escapism from their mundane lives. The world that we live in has become, in many ways, increasingly vapid. We are stuck in a perpetual want for attention just to feel some semblance of appreciation or self-worth. To show people that we are good enough because not participating means that people would never care about us. We have been shown in school that history has its way of weeding out the irrelevance. Some of the most famous people in history often strive to be the greatest, no matter the cost, just so they would be written about generations after they pass. Some people spend their lives putting on a facade just to have a chance at making it. Few people spend their lives afraid of being forgotten and end up becoming one of the most recognizable human beings in history. Vincent van Gogh was one of them. For most of his life, Vincent van Gogh was searching for a place where he belonged. In his time on Earth, he wore many hats. He tried his hand at art dealership, book selling, teaching, and even preaching before he found his way to painting at age 27. Throughout it all, there was one person who never left him, who always showed up, kept him afloat financially and emotionally: his brother Theo. Vincent was a troubled man, neurotic even. We know that. We learned about the severed ear and his admission to a mental asylum in the autumn years of his short life. Through hundreds of letters, Vincent shared his hopes, frustrations, and ambitions with Theo, and while the rest of the world saw an unsuccessful artist, Theo saw something worth preserving, worth remembering. But we shouldn't mistake Theo's loyalty as unwavering support. It isn't as cut and dry as the history books often paint the relationship as. The surviving letters between the two lean more towards Vincent's side because Theo kept their letters with care, while Vincent was very careless about Theo's correspondence. The surviving letters revealed that he often disagreed with Vincent, reprimanded him, and grew frustrated with the strain Vincent placed on both himself and their parents. His support was a continuous decision rather than an instinctual expression of familial love. Theo's financial aid is also seen as incredibly generous, but even he had his limits. He lended Vincent money, yes, but Vincent also asked too much of Theo. He asked for canvases, paint, and other supplies, all while Theo is also building his career as an art dealer and raising a family of his own. But even through all the troubles of their familial dynamic, Theo remained Vincent's biggest and, sadly, probably only supporter. He was probably his brother's only true friend, seeing as how Vincent rarely got on with anyone, including artists like Paul Gauguin. Artists of any medium who are lucky to have found success in their lifetimes all have to deal with the criticism that the world throws when that recognition is given to them. Van Gogh, however, wasn't surrounded by critics who misunderstood him, and the criticism that he got, let's just say that he didn't take them very well. For most of his career, he was surrounded by something probably more painful: silence. Most people fear criticism because it directly targets their pride and ego. I myself am not free from this fear. Simply put, people's words can hurt. Criticism threatens your belief that you are good, but one has a choice to let that criticism get to them or let criticism drive them to do better next time. People, and in extension, artists, who choose the latter are in it for the long game. They can transform criticism into their greatest teacher. A person can survive criticism because it implies participation in the conversation. It at least acknowledges your existence. Silence is different. The thing about it is that it attacks something deeper than pride and ego. Silence suggests obscurity, irrelevancy, being forgotten like you don't matter. Like you never mattered. One can spend his life trying to say something only for no one to hear it, or to poeticize it. When you are falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? Throughout his short life, he painted hundreds of paintings, each with their own individual stories. And out of those hundreds of paintings, he only ever sold one commercially, The Red Vineyard. To make ends meet, he would trade his art for food, art supplies, and other goods with the people he knew, acquaintances and fellow artists alike. Had Van Gogh lived a long, ordinary life and had moderate success in his career, would he still be talked about in the same way? If he hadn't dealt with poverty, alcohol abuse, and mental health issues, would his art have the same impact? Or do we only appreciate him because of his struggles? Because he was a tortured genius? Vincent died of a gunshot wound to his chest. Whether it was self-inflicted or otherwise remains debated. What is sad about his fame is that he never lived to see it. He never got to experience what it was like to be appreciated. During his lifetime, he struggled to find success and remained largely unknown outside a small circle of artists. It was only after his death in 1890 that the foundations of his reputation were laid. In a sense, Van Gogh became the subject of the painting he is most known for, a star whose light reached the world only after it had already burned out. Much of the credit for his fame belongs to Jo Van Gogh Bonger, the widow of Vincent's brother Theo. After both Vincent and Theo died within months of one another, Jo inherited hundreds of Vincent's paintings as well as the letters between the two brothers. Rather than allowing these works and letters to disappear into obscurity, she devoted her life to organizing exhibitions, promoting and selling his art, and translating and publishing selections of the letters. Through her efforts, the world was introduced not only to Van Gogh's paintings, but also to the story of the man behind them. It is so good after so many years of public indifference, even hostility towards Vincent and his work, to feel towards the end of my life that the battle is won. The letters that she translated and published are the reason we know who Van Gogh is today. They revealed an artist of extraordinary sensitivity and emotional volatility. That is not diminishing Van Gogh's artistry. However, I think it would be fair to say that had Jo not dedicated the rest of her life to fight for her brother-in-law's place in art society and history, his paintings might never have made it into the most prestigious museums in the world. He would have most likely stayed obscure. Through this, the audience wasn't viewing his art anymore. They turned him into folklore. He became two people as a result: Vincent van Gogh, the artist, and Van Gogh, the cultural icon. This narrative helped secure his place in history, something he has always dreamed about, yet it also simplified him. The complexity of his life was often reduced to a handful of dramatic details: his mental illness, the severed ear, his poverty, the tortured genius. For better or worse, the myth became inseparable from the man. This narrative attracted countless admirers and helped bring unprecedented attention to his work. It also encouraged audiences to view his paintings through the lens of tragedy rather than artistic achievement alone. Which begs the question, do we value Van Gogh for his artistry or because of his tragic story? His most famous painting, The Starry Night, was painted while he was admitted into a mental asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. It depicts the view from outside his window, of course, rendered in his unique artistic point of view. Most people who look at the painting think of the story about its creation, how Van Gogh was in a bad mental state because they either read about it or it was taught to them in school, or because it has been ingrained in his story so much that we just can't help but think of it. If we knew nothing about the painter, would we consider this a good painting? If we take the story away, would it still move us the same way? I do not mean to dismiss people's love and connection to Van Gogh as just some charity case because of his tragic story. I myself connect with Van Gogh on a deep level. It is interesting, though, that our perception of certain artists is shaped by narrative. It's the classic conundrum, can you separate the art from the artist? People often romanticize Van Gogh's pain as if his mental illness was the source of his genius. Yet suffering can just as easily destroy creativity as inspire it. His success raises the uncomfortable possibility that society often recognizes genius only when it is no longer threatening, controversial, or inconvenient. Years ago, while watching Tick Tick Boom, Spencer, and At Eternity's Gate, a thought came to me. Jonathan Larson, Princess Diana, and Vincent van Gogh lived vastly different lives, yet all three seemed to undergo a similar transformation after death. Their complexities were simplified into stories that could easily be remembered. The genius, the people's princess, the tortured artist. Maybe the reason myths endure is that they make remembrance possible. The more complicated a person is, the harder they are to carry across generations. What is it about these myths that we recognize in ourselves? What are we really searching for when we seek to be remembered? Today, Van Gogh's art appears on posters, mugs, tote bags, and immersive exhibitions. We have turned his sad story into a product. And while you may think, who cares? He has been dead for over a century. What does it matter if his face appears on coffee mugs, tote bags, and jigsaw puzzles? Well, this essay wasn't just about Van Gogh alone. It is about the human desire to be remembered. Throughout history, people have sought immortality through monuments, books, empires, and works of art. Today, we pursue the same goal, just in a different form and a wildly different medium. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and be above it all because I'm guilty of it as well. We want our names to matter. We want proof that we were here. Vincent van Gogh feared obscurity all his life. He knew that he would never achieve recognition in his lifetime, but he kept going. Then the world gave him what he desired eventually, but the price of being remembered was losing control of his own story, becoming a myth. The Vincent van Gogh we know today is not entirely the man who lived almost 200 years ago. Van Gogh, the icon, is an amalgamation of his story, told in letters, and the countless interpretations of the folklore he has become. In our pursuit of recognition, we often imagine that history will preserve us as we truly are. Vincent van Gogh's story says otherwise. What survives may not be the person, but the narrative others choose to tell about them. Modern society has made attention into a need. This is probably why life feels so much faster than when we were young. Maybe our fixation on fame really is just about the fear of being forgotten. Vincent experienced none of the recognition that now surrounds his name. It took Joe, who became the custodian of Vincent's legacy, for him to finally get his days in the sun. Reflecting on Van Gogh makes us ask ourselves what kind of success we want in our short lives. For me, I want to live a life where I'm fulfilled, whatever that may look like. I want to make art that people will connect with and provide for myself while doing it. It is disheartening given that artificial intelligence is with us from now on, and being a pessimist means being realistic. The world will always reward the loudest or the most visible. But the funny thing about history is that it has a way of preserving authenticity even if the crowd didn't roar in applause. I'd like to end this with a journal entry I wrote on the last page of one of my old sketchbooks. April 13th, 2022. I never thought the story of Vincent van Gogh would have impacted me so much. His story just told me to keep going and keep making art. He dealt with depression, low self-worth, insecurities, etc. I just thought that he deserved a great life. He is one of those people that got recognized only after he is lying 6 feet under. But he will also go down in history as one of the greatest masters of art. The reason why I'm writing this as the last page is because I want to make it special. I want to create a piece inspired by him. So, this one's for you, Mr. Van Gogh.